Treasury Secretary and billionaire Scott Bessent went on Fox News this week with host Laura Trump to spout off what economists are calling magical numbers to defend Donald Trump's destruction of the U.S. economy. Now, Scott Bessent, of course, as the Treasury Secretary, which he has no business being in that position, understands how GDP works, which is why these economists and other, pundits and analysts were shocked when Scott Bessent said this to Laura Trump, the president's daughter-in-law. Bessent said, quote, "Tariffs are delivering historic results for the American people. Even the mainstream media is starting to admit it. I've said total tariff revenue could reach $300 billion this year, but it could be much higher. Every $300 billion adds 1% to GDP. With tariffs alone, growth could hit 5%. Now, for those of you who are, economics majors or, took a bunch of classes in college, you probably immediately caught what was wrong with that. But for those who didn't, let me explain. Tariffs, as we all know, are taxes paid by the American consumers. Businesses have admitted that, yes, we have to pay the taxes, and yes, more importantly, we're passing that on to the American consumers. So the $300 billion that Bessent is boasting about he may bring in, it's not from foreign companies. It's from you and me. That's our money that we no longer have because we have to pay more for the same goods we've always purchased. But also, it's a tax. Taxes, tax revenue, tax income, has zero impact on GDP. None. Doesn't affect it. Bessent, as Treasury Secretary and a former hedge fund manager for 40 years, knows that. So he's just literally making up this gibberish, these magical taxes, to say that GDP is going to grow. That's not even possible with what you're doing. That's not how numbers work. Here is what folks had to say about this. And most of these, by the way, are actually conservatives or conservative think tanks. First one, analyst John Harwood said, quote, "This is economic gibberish." Conservative analyst Jonah Goldberg said, quote, "Tariffs are mostly taxes on Americans. Trade deficit is getting worse. I guess those are historic results." And then you wrote Kyle Pomerlew, who was a tax policy strategist for the Conservative American Enterprise Institute, said this: "Magnitude is about right, but the sign is wrong. The $300 billion in tariffs will reduce long-run output by a little less than 1%. So they're saying that the tariffs, not only are they not going to do anything to GDP, but they actually could drive down GDP because we produce less. And we know, for the record, we're already producing less because the manufacturing survey came out this week telling us that for the 6th straight month, manufacturing in America has declined. So we're producing fewer goods. The output of goods, which is what GDP is dropping and has been for 6 straight months. And yes, by the way, in that ISMS survey that came out, they 100% blame Trump and his tariffs. They said it's 100% because of the tariffs. That's actually a direct quote. Another one said, this one is from Phil Gordon of the Brookings Institute, who said, "Collecting $300 billion in tariffs does not add 1% to GDP. It just transfers it from U.S. consumers and businesses to the government while making goods more expensive, hurting exporters, and creating an exemptions process ripe for corruption. And the worst thing is, Bessent knows that." Then you had Dominic Pino from the National Review, conservative paper, said this: "In this video, the Treasury Secretary tells the president's daughter-in-law that the president's illegal taxes are magic taxes that make us richer. And he's supposed to be one of the positive influences in the administration." Then you had this from North Carolina State University agricultural economist Jeffrey Dorfman, who said, quote, "You cannot grow GDP by collecting taxes. GDP is the total value of everything we produce. Tariffs are not production. To the extent they raise the price of products, then we all have less money to spend on other products. If we're lucky, tariffs have a zero effect." if we're lucky. But the reality is they're having a negative effect. So basically, Donald Trump's billionaire Treasury Secretary, who is not going to lose anything with these tariffs, he's out there lying to the Fox News audience, which they're used to. He's lying to the American public. He's making himself look like a total dumbass. And this is what we get. The economy is shrinking. Manufacturing is shrinking. Farming is shrinking. Tourism is shrinking. Name an industry, it's shrinking, except for healthcare, but those costs are going through the roof that most people are refusing care because they can't afford it. So, that's that. These administration officials, Trump, Bessent, all of them are going to keep lying to us, telling us everything is great, while we scrape by just to be able to afford groceries. They are whistling past the graveyard, telling us to ignore the reality that we see and experience every day. And they will continue doing it, even as we go deeper and deeper into a recession. Thanks for watching, everyone. We're inching closer and closer to 1 million subscribers, and we're aiming to hit that goal before the year closes. So if you aren't subscribed to the channel, please do so, and don't forget to like, comment, and share. Thanks for joining us as we head towards this huge milestone.